Hey, how's it going, guys? I am here to make a video on a very popular topic today. I'm playing the algorithm game for my channel, and I also kind of am a little emotionally invested because I just watched iDubbbz's apology video talking about the differentiations between his old self and his new self, and I gotta say, I got mixed feelings. And there's parts where, like, I thought he was being genuine, but then there was other parts where I literally felt he's just trying to rebrand to save his revenue, which, business is business. But there's also other ways if you want to keep your authentic self, you can do that and continue to have a good fan base with good payment. I mean, you're probably not going to be making anywhere near the YouTube 7 million mark, but it's still a good living. But I think he actually probably has changed in a few different ways. I don't know. I can't read the guy's mind. This is all just assumption. Disclaimer, I'm not calling for anybody to harass anybody or anything like that. This is just my opinion based on what I've seen. And part of me believes that part of this is very genuine because around the time he met his girlfriend and they got into a serious relationship, he kind of changed. Now, I have seen that happen. I used to be that guy where I was like the goofiest, edgiest dude in the friend group. And then I met the right woman, and now I'm kind of mellowed out, even though I haven't completely thrown away some of my edgier, more controversial takes on life. But it does help a guy mature, look at him a certain way, and look in the mirror and kind of make changes to who you are as a human being. So if I could take 20-year-old Z Hut and then compare it to 28-year-old Z Hut, it would be a very different comparison. And then I would be giving him a guidebook. Here, take this book on how to get to this spot, because growth happens, people grow, people get better. Having said all of that, and I do agree that although open criticism for his girlfriend slash Noah's wife, Anissa, is very speculative on how people say, oh, she's just using him for popularity and she's just using him to get to other creators and forward her own self. You can't really disprove that because, right, again, you can't read her mind. You don't know what her stuff is deep down. I really hope not, because otherwise, if that's true, I see that really coming back and biting Ian in the long run. And I want to take out any bias from the bad taste left in our mouths from the Froggy Fresh drama video that he made, where he brought up that it was about Sam Hyde, despite not being very open or honest or just forthcoming about not associating. And I get why he doesn't want Sam Hyde around, because I do watch Sam's content also. His humor, it's funny because I think that old iDubbbz and current Sam Hyde would get along very well, but Sam Hyde did have a video where he was buying Anissa's OnlyFans and then looking at it, so he has been making content making fun of them for quite a bit. I don't think he's going off intentionally harassing them. In fact, from what I understand and from what I'm hearing, people have sent them nasty mail or any sort of like threats or something. That's not cool. I think that although you want to criticize iDubbbz and Anissa or Sam Hyde, go ahead, but harassing on DMs, messages, threats, etc. is really not cool. I don't think any threats of violence are ever all right. That could really instigate some stuff. However, let's move on to where I felt this apology video really showed that it kind of felt disingenuous, is where he was talking about how he's apologizing to Tana Mongeau and how he's rescinding the it's either all okay or none of it's okay. And although I do agree that sometimes you don't want to come from a place of hate, or really you usually want to come from a place of objective logic on why you have an opinion and not just hate, or just hate on a group of people regardless without any preconceived notion. I'm a firm believer that although you should always get to know someone before you make a final judgment on them, no matter what corner of life they come from. I honestly also believe, though, that when people throw shade, sometimes you got to throw a little bit of shade back. Now, I'm not saying it always has to be violent. In fact, I discourage anybody from violence just to make everybody very clear. But sometimes when there's a bully out there who just wants to make the world a worse place for either his own amusement or for his own gain, sometimes you have to, play that game back a little bit. It's an unfortunate reality that I've come to grips with, but I do agree that either all of it's okay, none of it's okay. You respect me, I respect you, and I will always try and make an effort to get to know you before I make a judgment without any preconceived notions. Now, having said that, as much as I disagree with him rescinding, I also disagree with the fact that he's apologizing to Tana. When Tana had that video that he is notorious for making coming, I think that he wasn't using it in a way to disparage anybody, but to kind of give Tana a taste of her own medicine. And that's also part of the reason that we used to really, well, I was never really a huge fan, but I had respect after the video, not because of what he said, but because what he was doing. Because one, I try to stay away from any sort of racial slurs just because it's not okay. But I think you're taking someone who used that language on their streams and you're giving them a taste of their own medicine, showing how she exaggerates certain stories. It was a really big objective critique of Tana as a person, and to completely throw away the effort, because there was some good stuff on that video that really made a point and drove it home. And I know he says sometimes we do got to bring back bullying and stuff like that. I don't think anyone really deserves to be harassed in their day-to-day life, but let me be clear that was kind of like a champion's cry for, kind of standing up for people who just are hypocritical. And speaking of which, it's just when I see the old fans and the old fan base of iDubbbz now really turn on him, I was never a huge fan, but I can see where the fans are now saying, okay, what happened to iDubbbz? Because I see it. It's like I was never a diehard fan of this guy. I knew what his content was, and I respected what he did. But over the past few years, he's kind of shown that, he started the beef with Sam Hyde. He used Airsoft Fatty. He had his own nefarious agendas to the point where now it's it seems like he's using this whole woke politically correct stuff as a shield or a public mask, which I am honestly not okay with, just because I used to hang out with people like that who posted about that stuff all the time on their social media, but behind that they were even more nasty or shallow or insecure and just at each other's throats low-key. I just remember being part of that environment. You always had to look over your shoulder, and it was a very uncomfortable time because I actually thought these people believed in equality and believed in all this stuff, and that's why I walked away from PC culture for the most part. I'm still trying to be as respectful as I can, but when I see stuff like that and disingenuous and I watch the actions compared to the words, I get the same vibe from Ian. It's like you're acting like, although you've met the right woman, you have completely changed and become a better person. I now know what empathy is at 32. I don't think you know what empathy is. I just think in my opinion, you're trying to appease the advertisers and be part of more of this mainstream plastic phony thing instead of having a moderate, honest audience. And that's another thing I just kind of want to end this video by saying, because you could compare this whole thing to him and Sam Hyde. And although Sam Hyde has his controversy, he's not trying to put a mask on it. He is being his authentic self. And although he's not always being nice and he's got his own projects a lot, he wasn't even trying to show up or harass Ian at all. But he does live in Ian's head rent-free. He's got a more moderate, smaller audience, though, that loves him for who he is, honestly, where iDubbbz has kind of, changed to a more cookie cutter, inauthentic version of himself that is just dipped in this woke paint, this politically correct paint, where a lot of people are kind of seeing as like, bro, you are forcing this. This is not you. This is not who you really are. It's like when you see someone who make an inauthentic change. I believe people can change. Don't get me wrong. I believe people really can change for the better. They can change for the worse, but there is a difference between authentic change and then inauthentic change where it's forced. And the thing I'm realizing is no matter what, your changes will be revealed in the long run, whether you're authentic or inauthentic. The truth gets revealed eventually. And I think that this mixed bag has kind of really shown a lot. I just don't see why he's apologizing for some of these content cops, Tana Mongeau videos, when a lot of the people he was criticizing, there was a lot of fair criticism, despite there being a lot of like misinformation about Keemstar. There's some stuff about Keemstar that I personally was off put by in his earlier years, but once you learn that some of the allegations were pretty fabricated, you have to give benefit of the doubt and not go off of your emotions and say, okay, he's not that bad. He might not be your cup of tea, but I think that you should look at someone objectively, just like right now with iDubbbz, which a lot of people are. iDubbbz has kind of become a far cry from who he is, and although like the surface of it says that yeah, he met the right woman, I think he's just trying to appease the advertisers at this point, especially with all the stuff he has. Him covering up his old content is just really, really odd, because I think the internet's going to find that and archive that eventually. You might as well have your past out there and then be ready to answer for it. Everyone has an edgy past. Everyone has said things that are kind of away from the mark, not very nice. And I think that they all have reasons for doing it. And then you could look back a few years and say, okay, what I said was not right because X, Y, and Z. But to just kind of try hard to cover it up and act like it didn't happen, again, it just adds to the disingenuous. And I really hope that maybe Ian can have a redemption arc, because I really don't think that this is a real authentic from the heart apology or explanation. I think that this is just for him to appease advertisers and try and be around some pretty fake people, so to speak, in my opinion. It's not too late for him to make an authentic change. I think he is bowing down to the machine, and that's not who he used to be. He may have his redemption arc, but I think for now it's pretty obvious to see that he's not being very genuine, at least from my perspective. What are your thoughts? Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys very much for choosing out of all the millions of iDubbbz videos that have been made in the past few days. Thank you for choosing this one. I will see you next time. Peace out.